Opposed? Carried. Corporate Development Committee report.
Thank you, Your
Councillor
Worship. It is moved
Hardy.
by myself and seconded by Councillor Pierce that the Corporate Development Committee report for September 10, 2018 be approved. There are 12 items, sir.
Questions of the Chair of Corporate Services, Councillor Miller.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that goes to item number 11, and I wonder if we had clarification on the driveways, because in section 7.700, it said that they had to be asphalted, and I was wondering about poured concrete, interlocking, brick, anything else besides that.
Your Worship, may I ask that question through to Mr. Componi? I'm sorry, Mr. Walden. Thank you, Mr. Walden.
Thank you.
Through the Mayor to Council. To go back and look at this, actually all the materials that are available for a paved driveway are asphalt paving, interlocking pavers, or concrete are all available. This actually all was, there was public consultation done with the development community about this, and it was all vetted through, and there were some public sessions to discuss that as well.
Complete. Any other questions of the Chair of Corporate Services? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we're on to Public Works Committee report. And it's noted that recommendation number 4 is revised. Councillor Coleman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving myself, second by Councillor Miller, the Public Works Committee report September 11, 2018 be approved, noting there is 7 recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Questions of the Chair, Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the Chair of Committee. For number 5, talking about the for Hillside Ave with the signs, it states in there a couple things that I'd like to know about. It says that staff installed a speed spy. Can I inquire as to when that was done? Because nobody that I know has seen that as to when it was there and where it was there. So that's the first question. And the second question, it ends with Hillside Avenue to be monitored prior to installing any additional signs. It's my understanding, Mr. Chair, that it was already monitored, and that's when the staff came back with the recommendation. So I'd like to understand this more monitoring, and I'd like to understand when the speed spy was put in, if I could.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to refer this back to the General Manager.
Through the Chair to Council. I'm not sure the exact date the speed spies were there. When I do go back, I can pull up the report and might be able to pick it up. I don't believe it's in the actual report as the dates that they were there. There is no recommendation to put signs there right now. As stated in the report, it really doesn't meet any of the criteria for any of the Highway Traffic Act type signs that you would actually have. And actually the speeds don't really, taken by the speed spy, really don't show that there actually is a problem there at the time.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, through you.
Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, through you. Yeah, if possible, could I get that report as to the speeds? Now, the one thing that I would like to reiterate again to this council is the fact that we talk about signs and we talk about that, the children playing signs are for parks and stuff like that, but I would like council to keep in mind, we have no sidewalks on this street, okay? So whether that plays a part in this or not, again, I just want to bring that to council's attention that, again, this is one of the streets we have in the town of Paris with no sidewalks. And again, I would like to just have a little further with the report off that speed by, but I appreciate it.
Worship.
Councillor Carney?
Thank you, Your Worship, not to belabor that, and I agree with Councillor Pierce because the last week I was up there making my rounds, and there were a couple of young families up there that are concerned about the speed in that area. And now I don't know what times of day they were. They didn't elaborate on that, but they are concerned about that area.
Councillor Simons?
I have another
I
i-
had you down before.
I have another item, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I don't know if you're finished with that item or not. I have another item. Am I ready to go?
I had your name down. Anything else?
Okay, yes, number one, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to know, and I understand that Santac's been a very, very good business partner with us for many, many years, but I'd like to know why, when they increase the price 3%, why we don't put it out to tender. It's only good policy, it's a Transparency Act, and we should be, I think we should be doing this, unless there's reasons unbeknownst to the rest of the council. So that's my question. Why are we not putting it out to tender when it's a 3% increase?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, staff have a very good working relationship with Stantec. And I
Thank
think
you.
they feel that if it went out to tenders and they have to start all over again, it all costs more money to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Stantec has been working with us for the last number of years on this situation. And you develop a rapport between these groups. And staff is very comfortable working with Stantec. Stantec is very comfortable working with staff. So that was the reason why we accepted it at a 3% increase.
And I understand that, Councillor Coleman, but the fact of the matter is that it is increasing 3%. And with pennies tight, we've got to be careful. And if the Works Committee is in agreement with that, that's fine, but I do not agree with it. So I'm just putting my opinion out there.
Any other questions? Councillor Miller?
Just further to Councillor Simon's question, just note that it is only 1 year, because at that time, staff are going to be looking at who does what, and that they just needed 1 year each time, so.
Fine, that's good.
And to bring somebody else in new, it usually takes them a year or two to learn learn how well Stantec has learned it, so.
Response? Any other question? No other questions? If not, report, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we're on to the Canesville Community Center Ad Hoc Committee report.
Mr. Mayor, move on myself, second Councilor Gallagher, the Gainesville Committee Center Ad Hoc Committee report of September 17, 2018 be approved. Noting just one item.
Questions of the chair? Councillor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I sound like a broken record, but I do have some questions. Is there a business plan that's been issued for this project, and is there a budget? And I see there's a request from Councillor Gatward on page 120. She suggested revisions to the work plan and timelines to extend the public consultation period. Has this been looked at, and is this going to be dealt with, and are we going through with this?
To answer your question, through you, Mr. Mayor, to answer the question, we haven't even got that far yet.
Oh,
So where are you with the project, if I may ask then?
Well, the old building's still there, the ground's there, but nothing started. And so we're still doing the consultation, which has to be done with the public first. Then it will go on to architect or whatever.
And do we,
haven't even got that far.
and do we have public meetings scheduled that everyone can go to and attend?
Right now, we can't even get committee meetings at time-wise, so when it's done, then there will be public meeting notices.
Thank you.
anyone else? Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Staff reports. Mr. Tout, you're presenting. Go ahead.
Myself, second by Councilor Miller, where the tender submitted by cargo limit for PW RFP 18-71 supply and deliver of pre-treated salt satisfies the requirements outlined in the tender documents of tender PW RFP 18-21 supply and delivery of pre-treated salt the award to Cargill Limit for the amended bid price of $4,123,426.50, including HST, and staff be directed to proceed to fill the salt dome in October of 2018.
Thank you. Questions of the Chair of Public Works on this matter? Councillor Cardy.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Coleman. What is I know there was an issue with salt. We had talked about it in Works Department. I just wondered what the difference is in cost going to Cargill from what we would have paid.
I'm thinking somewhere in the 30 to 40% more.
Okay, thank you.
And everybody's patient.
I know. Thank you.
Councillor
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are we still lowering our intake of salt on the roads? Because at one time I understood that we were trying to do that. Are we still continuing that process? And are we replacing it with that blue stuff, or blue, whatever it's called? This is treated salt, then. That's what that's called, treated salt. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Over the page. Communications, the first being new hospital for Brant Working Group, request for council support of terms of reference, and that has been circulated to the members of council. Question, Councillor.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Eddy, that the County of Brant Council endorse the new hospital.
She's rushing me.
Councillor, I guess it's Mayor Eddy, isn't it? Okay. Did I say Councillor? I apologize.
That's,
Moved by Councillor Simons and Mayor Eddy, that the County of Brant Council endorse the new hospital for Brant Working Group terms of reference, and they're attached.
questions of the presenter on the details. Councillor Cardy.
After reading the complete document, Your Worship, I noticed a lot of it really falls under the table of the City of Brantford.
Yes.
And I'm not complaining about that, but I'm just wondering why we would be voting on a document that's been already approved by the City of Brantford for a hospital in the City of Brantford. They don't talk about Brant County as a whole. And I worry about that because they do say Brant County can have representation, Six Nations can have representation. I just worry about how the wording, and it may be just a wording thing, I don't know, but it just seems that it's coming directly from the city. They want us to
Yes, correct.
they want us to be part of this, but if they've already approved it, I mean, it's a fait accompli, I think.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, that's true, but they want everyone to be as partners at this project, and every council will be getting this in terms of reference to approve, so that everyone else is on the same board. That's exactly what it is. And you're right, Brantford is the driver, but we're also partners of it, so along with everyone else that's listed. Okay?
Any other question? Councillor Gatward?
I noted in the resolution that it stated we had no one, because the ministry had taken over the operations of the hospital. And that has changed now because we have David McNeil or O'Neill as our new CEO of the hospital.
Correct.
And should that be changed in the resolution?
Pardon?
Should that be changed? Because it's not factual now.
Well, the document, a supporting document, is from the City of Brantford. They established the new hospital working group, but it is at variance with the previous system. There's no doubt about that. But this is the documentation. Do you wish to amend it, or do you wish to approve this proposal with a request regarding the name.
Well, page 2, the third paragraph, it says, whereas the members of Brantford, Brant, and Six Nations now have no direct input to the operation of our healthcare system other than through the invitation of a ministry-appointed administrator, and that it's the biggest issue facing our communities. Well, we do have an administrator now in Mr. O'Neill, and so that isn't correct now. So I maybe it was correct when the city passed it. Do you think that we should be passing this motion when it's not correct?
Your worship,
I
may I
don't.
call?
Councillor Chambers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If the councillor would just reflect a bit, we're not passing that resolution.
No.
We're passing a resolution endorsing, or we're contemplating a resolution endorsing the terms of reference. So you're not going to change a resolution that was passed by the city of Brantford.
No, it's not.
So I think you need to reflect on what the resolution before us is. It's to endorse, or if you oppose it, to not endorse the terms of reference. You can't change a resolution passed by another municipality.
Correct.
Okay, makes sense, thank you.
The matter, of course, will be dealt with by the Ministry of Health, the province of Ontario. And at some time, if they wish to see that the name is changed to recognize the three entities being city, county, and Six Nations, then that may happen, possibly. So, any other questions? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
I think we should reserve some land for the new hospital.
We have questions? Then question? Yes, we better deal with B first. Western Ontario Wardens Caucus requests for a letter of support for SWIFT program to be forwarded to the province. Councillor Pierce, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, if I could, in the last paragraph of the letter, well, I'll back up here a little bit. I think we all know that SWIFT isn't moving as swiftly as we thought it would off the
Oh,
start.
well said.
I was waiting to say that.
Very
But
well said.
what's encouraging here is the last little sentence in that paragraph, well, not quite the last, but it says, the fact that SWIFT is ready to deliver broadband as soon as the agreement is signed. So if I
Yes.
kind of think about that outside the box, what they're saying here is, as soon as this goes to the province, then they're ready to go. And I would just like to know if anybody knows that for sure, or if anybody has had any conversations as to what sort of boost this will give SWIFT in their efforts.
I would ask the CAO, who has, I expect, been involved with the SWIFT electorate, to comment.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, and it's our understanding, based on information we've received, that the SWIFT, basically the deployment of the SWIFT program, which is basically the release of an RFP that will allow the construction of a significant amount of fiber optic backbone throughout southern Ontario, is ready to go. The SWIFT is now an incorporated entity, has done a lot of planning, a lot of modeling. They have released the OPCO RFP, which is the first stage. The NETCO RFP is the second stage, is ready to be released. They really just, so in order to start building the OPCO, which is the big trunk fiber optic, they just need the funding agreement signed by the province. So they're very close. And I think that this letter is just to really just sew up that last piece, the funding agreement with the province. So.
Okay, thank
Do we
you.
have a motion on it?
I'll move to receive
Councillor
and write a letter, I guess.
Pierce. Councillor Pierce. and Councillor Coleman. Questions by members of council? Councillor,
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor. This is directed to our CEO. Have we got any new information, or will you be bringing a report forward in the near future regarding the health hub that we've been talking and working with?
pardon? How do you wish to?
Oh, I didn't know, I thought we'd moved on. He's asked for questions.
She's moved on to questions.
Sorry,
We need to deal with this first.
I'm anxious. So it's okay, let that go. Delete it.
So is that matter complete?
Yeah, we
Pardon?
need to vote.
We need to vote on the motion.
Yes, I
Sorry, I
know
forgot.
that. That's why I wanted to ask if the discussion is complete. All in favor of the resolution? Opposed? Carried.
Now I can ask.
That completes communications, and then we go to questions. Are there any questions? Councillor Simon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry about that.
I'll direct this to the CEO, if I may. It's regarding the health hub. Do we have anything new to report regarding the health hub, or will we be getting a report in the near future regarding it?
CEO?
Your worship, through you, you will be receiving a report at CDC on the health hub. It'll have a letter of intent between the county and the family health team. It'll have the results of the request for expressions of interest that we did to other partners, and it'll have basically a tuned-up business plan based on those initiatives. So,
Okay,
yeah,
thank
will, in about 2 weeks'
2
time.
weeks. Good, thank you.
Councillor Cardy?
Thank you, Your Worship. And if I may just give a little report on Councillor Simon's questions. The FHT should be ready to move into the old Brant County Power Office, I believe November 1st. The construction has moved along very well. The interior is just about finished. They're starting to look at colors, things like that for the office, so it's going very well, very well. And as we know, other doctors will be located in sub areas as well, like there's Burford and St. George, there will be doctors moving out there, and one in Ayr as well. So it's moving along quite well, and it's very good to have that, I would call it almost a 3P operation that we're doing right now, which has been very good, Your Worship.
That is good news, and I announced last night that following a tour of the Willett Hospital, I was informed that active care would recommence at the Willett Hospital this coming week. That's in addition to the transitional care of 17 beds that was reactivated a few weeks ago, and of course the urgent care that still is continuing. The new item is that active care will recommence at the Willett at the present time. Thank you. Councillor Simon.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, do you know how many doctors will be replaced or put into the Brant County Power for a temporary place?
3, is it, Councillor?
3? Okay, thank you.
3 will be
Thank you.
there, with 1 in St. George and 1 in Ayr. Yes, Councillor Cardy.
With your permission, Your Worship, yes, Dr. Tamali, Dr. Raja, and Dr. McDonald will be in that building. The other doctors will be spread around the county.
Thank you. That completes that. So we're, the questions, Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question through you to the CAO. Will IBI be here on October 10th? Present.
Your worship, through you, the question is about the transit needs plan, and they will be here on October 10th.
Very soon. Not soon enough, perhaps. Thank you. Any other questions by members of council? If not, there are no resolutions listed. Other business, Councillor Wheat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back on Friday, September the 14th, teamwork in the county of Brant was really on display. It was a Friday heading into the apple harvest weekend in St. George.
Yes.
The roads department was doing everything they can to make the village look beautiful.
Yes.
When they had an equipment failure. The equipment couldn't be repaired that day, but the Parks and Rec team stepped up to help out the roads department to do what they needed to do. Later on that evening at 7 o'clock was the home opener for the St. George Ravens, a junior A hockey team. And we've installed where you can go to the concession stand and you don't need cash anymore. You can pay with your debit card. So you can get a hot dog and a coffee with your debit card. And of course, opening night wouldn't work. But the tax department in the county of Brant, the tax department stepped up and came out and got the debit machine working for the arena staff. So one department helping another department in the morning, and then later that evening, the tax department helping out the arena staff to get the debit card working so we could make money that night on our coffee and hot dogs. So it's just teamwork in action in the county of Brant, and I tip my hat to all departments working together to keep things moving in my town.
Thank you for that report, Councillor Wheat. Report received. I believe any other item, new business, none was listed other than Councillor Wheat. Move on to the in-camera items. Then I have a motion to go in camera. Councillor Chambers moves, Councillor Pierce seconds. Oh, you've had that list. And the two items are as listed, as you can see. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. There's a group of them. Someone have the list of bylaws to be presented this evening?
It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the bylaws number 125-18 through to 138-18 be read now a first time.
First reading of bylaws, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the following bylaws be now read a second time and all clauses and preambles be adopted. Bylaw number 125-18 through to bylaw number 138-18.
Second reading of bylaws as listed. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any member of council wish to question, comment, or amend a bylaw as listed that's been given second reading? Anyone? None? Please proceed.
I have a question about...
Oh, sorry, Councillor Gatward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Presenter has a question.
Yes, number 3.
Bylaw number?
Number 3, it's 127-18. Through you to the CAO. Previously, we had a very separate ambulance committee back in 2001. And that ambulance committee was run by the County of Brant. We ran the ambulance service and still do. Is this new agreement similar to the agreement we had back then? Or is it totally different? I noticed that we have equal membership now, so I guess I'm a little concerned about that, but hopefully everybody can get along and the business of the day can be carried on as usual.
Your worship, through you, I have no knowledge of a previous agreement to the current cost-sharing agreement. That's the current agreement that's in place, and this agreement would supersede a section of that cost-sharing agreement. So I have no knowledge of that other agreement. My apologies.
Thank you.
Any other member of council wish to comment, question? None? Please proceed with third reading. Pardon? Are you...
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the following bylaws be now read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Bylaw 125-18 through to bylaw 138-18 to confirm the proceedings of council.
Third reading bylaws as listed. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. No, I'm fearful that we've run out of fuel for this session of council. Completes the agenda. So we now require motion to Councillor Coleman, Councillor Pierce. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now,